Hey everybody, welcome back for another sublimation tutorial. Today we're going to look at how we do the DTF sublimation process. So instead of doing just sublimation on just polyester, there's a new technique where you can actually almost sublimate onto any material like cotton, which is awesome because we all know we want that cotton feel instead of that texture of the polyester all the time. So it's called DTF transfer with sublimation. It's called directly to film is what the DTF stands for. This is my preferred supplies is the Yamation DTF transfer film and also the DTF transfer adhesive from also Yamation. It's a really good product. You get really great vibrant colors, really great results. And if you use the code and the link below in the descriptions, you will get a 10% discount. So I'll show you how to use these products. And actually, again, it works really great and it gets really good results. So what you're gonna need is DTF transfer film and DTF transfer adhesive. So the films, this is the Yamation. It comes like this in a little packet. They will tell you print side here. So the print side is the side that's facing up. I'll show you what the film looks like. And there is a very distinct way to put it in that you want to make sure you put it in right. You will notice, just like lamination sheets that you'll see me frequently using, there's a dull side and there's also a shiny side. I don't know if you can quite tell on here, but there is a difference. So when you get transfer film, you want to make sure you're printing on the dull side. You don't want to print on the shiny side because it won't work. So when you put it in, if it's a back feed printer, you'll put it in with the dull side facing you. If it's it feeds through and goes up, you want to have the dull side facing down. That way it prints through and feeds up the proper way. With your film, you will need to have the adhesive. And this is basically the glue that's going to hold the image onto the shirt. So these are the two main items you're going to need for this process. Again, you can use whatever material shirt you want, cotton, 100% cotton, polyester cotton, whatever you want to use. You could do it on canvas even if you want to. It works pretty good on those. I've done a few of those. But I'll just show you on a quick cotton shirt to what the process looks like and the results that come with it. You'll want butcher paper or parchment paper, whatever works best for you, and some kind of heat tape just to make sure your image is in place. And you'll also need your heat press, whether it's a Cricut like mine or one of the big, nice, fancy clamshell presses. So let's go ahead and get to the first step, which will be printing out the image onto our transfer film. All right, so the steps with this is actually really easy. Pretty much you just sprinkle your powder onto your image. They say just to go ahead and sprinkle it on, and then you're gonna cure the adhesive with a some heat source, a heat press, or I have a Cricut press. That's what I use for pretty much all my projects. You're gonna cure it, and that's what's gonna help adhere the image to the shirt. I have found though that doing an extra layer of the powder though, once you do cure the first layer, actually works really well, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. We'll go ahead and get the first layer applied. I'm gonna go ahead and put some paper towel down, that way it's just easier to clean up later. Okay, so we got some on there. And you can go ahead and just lift your film up and just kind of rock it back and forth. The powder, you want to make sure that the image gets really nice and coated. That way it's going to have a good layer of adhesive. All right, so once you kind of go back and forth, roll it around a little bit, you want to actually go ahead and save this because you can reuse it. That way you're not wasting it every time you pour it out, because as you can see, we pour out quite a good amount. So you can just pour it back into your little tub or whatever. That way you can use it for another project. And just make sure that you get all the excess off. Just kind of tap it And that way you can see it's kind of grainy looking, and that means everything is stuck where it needs to where it needs to stick to, and that's what you're wanting. So from here, we're just gonna clean up our counter, your table. So from here, we're gonna put a heat pad down, or if you have a clamshell, you're just gonna set it onto your clamshell, and we're gonna apply heat. You don't wanna set it directly on top of the image, because then it's just gonna melt to your heat press and you're gonna have a huge mess. So you're just gonna hover your heat right over it. Because I have a little Cricut, it's an 8x8 Cricut, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to get my adhesive really nice and cured. If you have the clamshell or a larger press, you're gonna have a quicker time doing it. So I'll go ahead and hover over and cure the adhesive. I do mine at 400 degrees, 60-second increments, and go until it looks very nice and smooth. And I'll show you once it's cured what it should look like. All right, so I just really want to quickly show you what the process is going on. You can see the difference here, how one side looks really bright and vibrant and one still looks kind of faded out. This is what's happening, is that adhesive is melting to make a smooth layer, and that's what's gonna stick to your material. So I'll go ahead and keep doing that until the whole image is nice and clear. All right, so like I said, that was about 5 minutes or so. And you can see how clear it is now. There might be a couple little spots I might go back and just reheat, but I'm not too concerned about it because like I said, I like to add a secondary layer, not curing it. So the first layer, you're gonna layer it, cure it, and then I found that the best way for me that works is putting that second layer on, but not curing it before I press it. So I'm gonna put that a second layer on. So I got that second layer there. It was a little bit more messy that time, but you can see it's kind of been recoated. You can just go back and apply a little bit as needed, just in certain areas, but I do like to have that second coat on there. So we'll just shake off the excess, and then just make sure you clean up whatever excess mess you made before you use your pad again, or again, just put something else down not to make that mess. All right, so from this point, you're gonna have your shirt laid out. I have just my mat on the inside with some parchment paper on top of the mat. That way, if anything bleeds through the shirt, it's not gonna go onto the back side of the shirt. It's just gonna all stay on the front. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a lint roller or whatever you use, just make sure all the lint, fur, hair just is off where you're gonna place your image. Because you don't want anything underneath it, because it will show lines of those little particles that are on there. So just make sure you go and get them really nice and cleaned off. You will want to pre-press your shirt to get any wrinkles or anything like that out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Again, it's just 400 degrees for about 60 seconds. If that is just to heat it up and smoothen it out. All right, so now that we have that done, it's nice and pressed, it is warm, we're gonna take our image, and you can see it's backwards right now. We're gonna go ahead and get it placed onto the shirt and center it as much as possible, or wherever you're wanting it on your shirt. And the awesome thing actually about this is that you can see through it. So instead of having that kind of blank, blind view of where you're placing your image, you can see where you're placing your image, which is really awesome. And if it's easier, you can even just cut everything out, just right around. I don't, but it's just, again, it's preference. I'm just gonna kind of get that centered as much as possible just for now to where I think will be good. I'm not gonna worry too terribly much about the centering of it. And I think right there will be good. So with this, you do want to cover it with either butcher paper or parchment paper. That way you're not melting the sheet to your heat press. All right, so we'll cover that up and we'll go ahead and heat it. And do remember, all presses are a little bit different. If you have a larger press, your temperature might run a little bit hotter than my little Cricut will. 400 degrees does work really well for me, but you guys might need to lower it down to 350 or 380, but still running about that 15 to 20 seconds. That way you're not burning any of the ink or the image or the adhesive. So I'm gonna do mine for 400 degrees for 15 seconds. Okay, so that's been pressed. You can see we'll take that off, and that's what it looks like once it has been pressed. The film does get a little bit wrinkly. It's not a big deal if you notice that. You're gonna let this cool down all the way. I found that if you try to take it off while it's still hot, it actually lifts the image and the adhesive. So the best thing is to let it cool off completely, whether it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or you let it sit there for an hour, let it cool down to get the best results. So I'm gonna let it cool down and we'll be back to peel it. All right, so it is completely cooled off. It's actually kind of cold because I have my door open. So at this point, you're gonna start peeling it back, but do it a little bit slower. Don't just rip it off, because then you're gonna rip off pieces of your image. So we'll go ahead and just take a corner and just lightly lift up. And I like to kind of make it a little bit flat and just kind of peel as long as you go. And there you are. That is the DTF transfer method. I did actually want to show you a quick thing, just because I had done something. When you go to place your image, make sure you're placed before you set it down. Otherwise, you're gonna get little smudge marks, because the ink will already start to transfer because it is still wet on the paper. So just be aware of that. But otherwise, it's actually really cute. You can see how vibrant the colors are. And this is just a shirt from Walmart. I use it for pajamas. So like I said, it's a great and easy method, especially when you're wanting to use cotton shirts. You can use this on any material. I've done it on canvas. It works really, really well and gives you more of a variety option versus just doing the most polyester option as possible. All right, you guys, so this is how we do the DTF sublimation process. Again, you can see it works really well, still gives you those really vibrant colors. Like I said, I prefer to use the Yamation. It gives really great results. You can go ahead and get a discount for the products that you do want to get and try out. If you enjoyed this tutorial, if it helped you, go ahead and boop that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share for others so they can get helped as well. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting.